Hello there and good evening. Welcome to the broadcast. It is exactly 8:57 p.m. East African time and you are just on time for Lookuptv News. Now today we are assessing the damage of the Monday Azimio demonstrations, and as well we are looking at the destruction of property as well as the general impact of those demonstrations. We have that looking at all the angles for you. We have dissected that in our bulletin this evening, but before we get into it, here is what you can be looking forward to. Tonight on Lookuptv News, 24 hours later, police move in to assess the damage done on Kenyatta family-owned farm after goons attacked the property on Monday. Protests are within the law. LSK defends Azimio protests, calling on the police to protect each and every Kenyan. 3 years in prison, former Bonchari legislator Robert Omeke found guilty of soliciting for a bribe. Welcome to the broadcast. The hashtag is Lookuptv News. I am Nancy Nelima and our sign language interpreter for tonight is Josephine Oko. Do stay with us as we bring you the latest, the stories that are making conversations across all of 47 counties. Let's begin. Opposition leader Raila Odinga has come out to strongly condemn the government of President William Ruto, accusing it of using goons and security operators to fan class and religious animosity in the country. In reference to what was witnessed yesterday during the demonstrations, Odinga maintains the state-sponsored attacks both at former President Uhuru Kenyatta's Kamaki's land and his gas company. And as our reporter Henry Tendon files, the Azimio leader wants the police to stop harassing his supporters, even as he remains firm the demonstrations will go until the demands are met.
With a standoff ensuing between President Ruto and the opposition, Azimio leader Raila Odinga has come out to lay blame squarely on the government, accusing President Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua of destruction witnessed yesterday.
The country is in the hands of men who are goons at heart, while pretending to be leaders and statesmen. How does Ruto go to Germany and talk about attracting German foreign investment to Kenya, knowing very well that back at home he has put in place a machinery for vicious attack on local investments?
Several protesters were arrested during yesterday's demonstrations, while some were left nursing serious injuries. Azimio says police must be responsible in enforcing law.
Despite Azimio supporters bending over to ensure that the protests are conducted strictly within the law, the state, under the direction of Ruto and Gachagua, did everything to ensure the protests degenerate into chaos and lead to death.
Mr. Odinga has additionally condemned attacks on private property, as witnessed at former President Uhuru Kenyatta's Kamaki's farm and at his gas company in Nairobi.
Yesterday, the state unleashed goons on farms way off Nairobi and businesses way off the CBD. In that invasion, trees were uprooted and burned, and animals carted away and slaughtered under the supervision of the state. Business premises were stoned and broken into, and properties scattered away. Worse still, lives were lost. People were hacked to death with crude weapons, while others got shot with guns.
With worrying images from Kibera, where PCEA church was razed by unknown goons and a mosque vandalized, Odinga says government sponsored the attacks.
As we warned during the campaigns, Ruto has brought the class war here. He's keen to have a religious war here. This is how it starts. Once it starts, there's no end until citizens turn on one another.
Raila is now calling on the international community to come to the aid of the country.
We see a plot that will be extremely disastrous for the country's long-term stability and economy. We see the little hope for Kenya's large-scale farming. We are tearing the heart out of our commercial agriculture. We see little hope for new investments in our economy or expansion of existing ones. We are looking at the beginning of the end of the economy of this country.
The former premier has, however, cautioned if the culture of intolerance continues unabated, then the country is looking at an uncertain future.
In this latest act of desperation by Mr. Ruto and Gachagua, we see a plot that will be extremely disastrous for the country's long-term stability and economy.
Odinga is adamant nothing will stop opposition's protests until their demands are met.
Ruto must make no mistake. This struggle will march on, stronger and mightier, with his every vile response until our demands are met.
Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Tende, for that detailed story. And now, still on the demonstrations, ICTC's Raila Odinga has come out to defend the government of President William Ruto, saying they will not be intimidated by protests. Odinga blamed the destruction of property on Azimio leader Raila Odinga and the political class, accusing them of being in dissension in the fight of the reduction of the cost of living.
As tension continues to rise over the Monday protests that led to the destruction of Kenyatta and Odinga property, President William Ruto has maintained that the country will be governed by the rule of law and that his government will not allow impunity.
Kenya is a country of the rule of law, all right? And as responsible citizens and as president, I will ensure that everybody's property, it is my duty, everybody's property, everybody's business, everybody's hustle is protected and the lives of the people of Kenya are protected. It is.
Speaking in Germany, as he met Kenyans living in Germany, Ruto maintained that the government will protect its citizens.
And speaking from Berlin, the Inspector General of Police and all the police, the entire police force in Kenya have a responsibility to ensure that the property of every Kenyan, the business of every Kenyan, the life of every Kenyan is secure, protect the right of every Kenyan, the civil rights of every Kenyan.
ICTC's Raila Odinga has come out to issue a statement blaming the opposition for the destruction of property, calling on them to take responsibility.
With the efforts of the demonstrators, led by the political class, under the tutelage and stewardship of Raila Odinga having been thwarted and failing to gain access into the CBD, they went into the environs of the city. And under the guise of exercising their democratic rights, whipped up sentiments which led to destruction of property, including but not limited to the burning of a police vehicle, GKB 856D, a Toyota Corolla belonging to the Kenyan police.
Odinga has reiterated that the government has a responsibility to protect the property of all Kenyans.
In the same vein, let me also state that the right to property and life is a fundamental and a cardinal principle of the law that the government remains alive to and will go out of its way to protect. Irrespective of whose property it is, the government will protect the property of each and every Kenyan.
The CS insisted that the protests are causing destruction of property, accusing the opposition of having selfish reasons for pushing for protests.
Witnessing. While we accept and recognize the fact that our Article 37 of the Kenyan Constitution, our 2010 constitutional dispensation, allows for demonstrations and picketing. The position of government is that such demonstrations and picketing must be exercised or undertaken within the confines of the law. And those confines of the law, or the ambit of the law, is clear that picketing and demonstrations should not lead to destruction of people's property.
On Monday, goons attacked properties belonging to Kenyatta family and Odinga family in retaliation to the protest being carried out by the Azimio coalition. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Thank you, Brian Amwai, for that report. Police officers on Tuesday visited the Northland farm 24 hours after goons invaded the Kenyatta family-owned property. And as Shadrach Career reports, the looting, which happened without police intervention, cost the family millions of shillings. The goons did not only steal livestock, but also set the farm ablaze and destroyed whatever their eyes could see, as well as going to the extent of partitioning the land and setting up structures.
Ashes on the floor and hundreds of trees lying on the ground tells about all yesterday's drama witnessed in the former President Uhuru Kenyatta's family-owned Northland farm. Workers at the farm working hard to recover their boss's land as they destroyed structures that were built by goons who attempted to grab the land. According to the situation here, it appears that the invaders were well organized before launching their destructions, as the absence of police officers at the scene gave them enough time to purchase new iron sheets and build stable structures. A few days ago, this area was protected and the fence was there, meaning that people could not easily get access to this land. But today, as you can see, the fence has been destroyed, exposing this land, with the local leaders calling upon the government to take action against those involved.
Tunamuomba achukue ile kazi amepewa na wananchi wa Kenya. Let him follow the rule of law. Askari wako pale ndio walinde mali na watu wa Kenya. Si iwe kuna wengine wanalindwa na wengine hawalindwi.
According to the local leaders, a group of goons were ferried from Nairobi County to the area by unknown leaders before they were ordered to loot and grab the land.
Walikuwa wametoka upande ya Ruai. Wakaja huku walikuwa wameahidiwa wakutane huko wapewe mashamba. Lakini kufika huko wakasafirishwa na magari wakaletwa, wakadropiwa hapa Afrosayari, kudropiwa hapa Afrosayari, sasa ndio wakaja na miguu wakaingia huku.
Pengine Nairobi, Kiambu? Within Nairobi, yes. Within Nairobi. Na kwa hivyo wakaweza kuingia hapa na wakafanya vile mumejionea. Hata kama kuna tofauti za kisiasa, sababu ziko. Na nafikiri ni kwa sababu hiyo tuko na maandamano. Watu wanafaa waketi chini. Watu hawafai kuleta kitu inaitwa incitement against watu wale wengine. Na ile kitu ingine ambayo sisi haikutufurahisha hata kidogo ni ya kwamba wakati hiyo maneno yote ilikuwa inafanyika, hakuna polisi hata mmoja aliweza kufika hapa.
24 hours later after the occasion, the first police Land Cruiser arrived at the scene. The police officers took a walk on the destroyed land before they could leave. The invasion has since stirred political temperatures in the country, as the Azimio leaders mount the blame on President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua for sponsoring goons where livestock were also stolen.
We say so because the Kenya police never showed up the entire day this was happening. Miraculously, they have showed up today, 24 hours later, and after the damage.
Raila Odinga's Spectra company was also attacked by goons on Monday. So far, neither the government nor the concerned ministry has come out to explain the occasion. The invaders did not only loot livestock at this farm, but also led to massive destructions by cutting down thousands of trees at this Kenyatta farm. Reporting for Lookuptv from Kiambu County, my name is Shadrach Kareria.
Thank you, Kareria, for that. Now, staying on the aftermath of the demos, religious leaders now want President William Ruto and Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga to hold talks for the sake of peace in the country. This comes after chaos rocked Kibra on Monday night, leading to the destruction of a mosque and Kibra PCEA church. Samia Dika with more details.
The police and Azimio la Umoja protesters in Kibra. This is what remains of these places of worship. Kibra PCA church and a mosque set ablaze by unknown assailants last evening, destroying property of unknown value. The aftermath of Monday maandamano has been condemned by religious leaders who visited the place. They are now calling on political leaders to cool the rising political temperatures.
Hundreds of families have faced a dark night of pain, anxiety, worry, and loss, instigated by political interests and misconceived, misguided agents of hooligans. It is sad that Kibra community is being dismembered along perceived religious and political differences which in fact do not exist.
Unity in the country has been stressed and a return to normalcy emphasized.
Excellency the President, William Ruto, and the former Prime Minister, Honorable, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, to have a coordinational meet-up and discussion to quell political tension in the country. They must meet and come together and talk.
The message was the same from both sides of the religious divide.
Right here, at this particular moment, in these disturbed Kibra grounds, we called on all Kenyan politicians to rise to the higher ground of sobriety and put the country first.
The leaders pointing an accusing finger to the law enforcers for what they termed as discrimination in police deployment.
Tunaomba vile vile vitengo vya usalama, you must be neutral. Wananchi wanapowahitaji, tafadhalini polisi, muwe haraka kuweza kufika, kuzuia ghasia kutokea, kuzuia loss of life, kuzuia loss of property. Kama alivyosema mwenzangu, this was absolutely unnecessary.
The community that has existed together for a long time, comprising of different ethnic identities and religion, has been called upon to set aside their differences and embrace unity.
Is it too much to ask the Muslims to cross that river and help Christians rebuild their church? Can we ask the Christians to cross that river and rebuild the mosque? And if you do that, the human rights organizations, I pledge, we will come personally to help you rebuild your places of worship and to restore dignity and the right to worship for this area.
Yesterday's events have set in motion rising political temperatures and tension in the country. Kenyans taking on one another, and this area is just one of the areas that has borne the brunt of the chaos. The religious leaders have called on Kenyans not to allow their political differences tear the country apart. Samia Dika, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
That story by Samia Dika takes us for a very fast break here on the program. But there's more just concerning the aftermath of the Monday demonstrations by Azimio la Umoja, a lot of property destruction, as well as just the whole impact of those demonstrations, and different stakeholders have something to say about it. What are your thoughts as well? Coming right after the break, we'll be talking about, of course, Your Opinion Matters, which is a segment that comes to you every single day right here on Lookuptv, an opportunity for your voice to be heard on key issues in the country. We take that break. Don't go too far.
Hey darling, are we still on for a coffee date?
I'm waiting for you to come and pick me up.
I should be able to pick you in a few.
It's a coffee yogurt date?
It's not just a yogurt, it's royal coffee yogurt.
Flow with the sweet taste of thick and smooth royal fresh coffee yogurt. Royal Fresh, the royal test of freshness.
Mafasi mupo! Watazamaji, tuko hapa kwa ajili ya shindano la kutafuna pilipili sinia moja. Atakayemaliza wa kwanza anakabidhiwa shilingi 1,100. Hapana, 1,000. Nyeupe uko tayari?
Tayari.
Nyeusi uko tayari?
Niko tayari bana, leta hiki kitu.
Haya basi, twende! 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 Kutafuna! Hey!
Mbona upitie hizi shida zote na unaweza jishindia 100,000 times your bet ndani ya Lotto Mega Draw.
Changamka, cheza Lotto.
It's easier, it's bigger, it's better. It's Grand Mega Draw. Cheza na shilingi 50 hadi shilingi 2,000 na ushinde mega cash ya 200 million. Isitoshe, kuna mega bonus ya up to 20 million shillings kila Jumatano na Jumamosi. Sio ndoto, unangoja nini? Cheza Lotto, it could be you. Nenda kwa M-Pesa paybill number 777-000. Andika neno Look kama account number. Cheza na kati ya shilingi 50 hadi shilingi 2,000 na ushinde sasa. Round hii ni more draws, more cash and big wins na Lotto.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
Sensei Institute of Technology is the home to the best practical courses, giving you a hands-on experience to handle the world. A place to build your skill and see the world in a different perspective. For you to join us, ensure you have your national ID card and be ready to enjoy the ride. Sensei College, my skills, my future.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with Lookuptv. This is Look Up News. I'm Nelima, and our sign language interpreter for tonight is Josephine Ouko. Let's continue. The Law Society of Kenya now wants the Independent Police Oversight Authority to investigate the brutal killings witnessed during the anti-government protest. And as Ian Kitani now reports, the society president, Eric Theuri, has taken a swipe at the National Police Service for what he termed as failing to undertake their mandate, as he maintains that the opposition protests are within the law. Let's take a look.
As the debate on the anti-government demonstrations took center stage in the country, the Law Society of Kenya has come out to defend the protesters, insisting that their right to picket is provided for in the Constitution and should be protected by the authorities.
The recent protests have widely been promoted on an agenda centered on electoral malpractices, socio-economic grievances, and this, in our view, does not constitute war propaganda, incitement to violence, hate speech, or advocacy of hatred that constitute ethnic incitement, vilification of others, or incitement to cause harm or discrimination.
Theuri also blamed the authorities for failing to act on the attack that happened on the Kenyatta and Odinga's property, saying they failed on their mandate to protect both private and public property.
We've also received reports of biased responsive actions from the police forces where they have failed to respond to attacks on property affiliated to former senior government officials. We reiterate that it is the duty of the police to provide security to all Kenyans, regardless of their political affiliations.
The National Police Service, in a statement to newsrooms, insists that the investigations are ongoing regarding the invasion that happened on the Kenyatta family farm, and those found culpable will face the full force of the law. The police also condemned attacks meted on officers who were maintaining order during the protests. The URI further indicated that the society is following up on the killing of William Mayenga, a student at Maseno University, insisting that justice must be served.
We are liaising with necessary investigative agencies, that is IPOA, to determine the kind of action that they are taking. And if and when we establish that there are gaps in that investigation, and we then take the necessary action, because there are competent arms of government that have been set up to investigate exactly such incidences and ensure that where there is a fatality, there is an explanation as to the use of force by the police leading to that fatality.
With the demonstrations marred with shooting incidences, the society now wants IPOA to investigate the conduct of the police during the protests.
Also urge the Independent Police Oversight Authority to look into that issue to determine whether there was a report that was made to the police and what actions the police took thereafter. Upon those circumstances becoming clearer, then we can be able to make a determination as to the response that was undertaken by the police.
Keitani, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Keitani, for that report. And now to your opinion matters as tension continues to rise in the country following the protests on Monday and the attack on the Kenyatta family. Tonight on your opinion matters, we ask your take on the same and what should be done to cool off the political temperature.
Today on Your Opinion Matters, we want to know what is your take on the mass action and the goon attack at the Northlands farm.
Sasa nilikuwa nauliza, mashambulizi ya jana iliniudhi sana. Ni kama mimi nilikuwa nimeweka mali yangu ikuje ichukuliwe na mimi sikufurahia hata. Wenye waliokota nilisikia vibaya sana. Kitu ya pili, hii maandamano inakuja, tunaambiwa ni uchumi mwenye president na wenye wamekalia kwa kiti, sio wao wameleta hiyo uchumi baya. Uchumi ililetwa na COVID na ikaletwa na maji. Na kama tungekuwa tuone venye tunaweza saidiana, hiyo inaweza kuwa better. Lakini ya jana iliniuma sana.
Taanzia na hiyo ya mashambulizi. Kulingana na mimi, hakufanya vizuri kwa sababu hiyo ni mali ya mtu binafsi. Na kuna mtu angependa mali yake iharibiwe. Hata wao wenye walikuwa huko, mtu akiingia kwa shamba ya mtu haribu, pia watasikia vibaya. Tena kwa hii maandamano, mimi naona tu wakae chini waongee. Ndio kuacha kuharibiwa vitu, biashara, hivyo.
Tunataka tu sisi amani. Hatutaki maandamano. Juu maandamano ikiendelea, kazi kama hii yangu siwezi kuja kufanya. Kama ni 100 napatanga hapa, sitaipata. Nitaenda nilale njaa. Juu nagojea hiyo 100 napatanga hapa. So tunaweza omba tu serikali tu wasikizane. Tuache tu hizo vitu kwa wanafanya. Atusaidie tu na sisi tujisaidie tu huku chini. Mashambulizi hata hiyo haikufanyika vizuri. Si vizuri kuenda kufamia vitu za mtu.
Watu wenye amefamia hajafanya poa kwenye kuingilia kwenye shamba ya watu kuifamia mali yenyewe kwa sababu hauzikani na mambo ya maandamano. Kwa hiyo nashauri tu achane na mambo ya maandamano juu si nzuri na ilete amani, inaleta vita katika nchi.
Kulingana na maneno ya maandamano wasiendelee sana kwa sababu wanaharibu nchi. Sisi wale wananchi wa chini ndio tunaumia.
Those are some of the views from citizens. Gladys Macharia, Lookuptv, Kiambu County.
Thank you, Gladys Macharia, for that. And now away from the demonstrations, former Bonchari MP Robert Oimeke has been sentenced to 3 years in prison. This is after the court found him guilty of requesting a bribe of 500,000 shillings. Anti-Corruption Chief Magistrate Peter Ooko ruled that Oimeke was guilty of the offence after the prosecution proved its case against him.
Chief Magistrate of Anti-Corruption Court Peter Ooko on Tuesday sentenced former Bonchari legislature Robert Oimeke to 3 years in prison or pay a fine of 1 million shillings after he was found guilty of soliciting for a bribe.
Proved the required standard, the first count, as preferred against the accused. But at the same time, I find that the second count was properly proved. So in the first count, I acquit the accused under section 215 of the CPC for lack of sufficient evidence. But for the second count, I find him guilty as charged and proceed to convict him accordingly in terms of the aforesaid provisions of the law.
Robert was accused of soliciting for a bribe of 500,000 Kenyan shillings in order to facilitate the opening of a petrol station in Homa Bay when he was working for the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority as the Director General. The filling station had been fined 309,000 by the KRA, which was paid, and the complainant was handed a clearance document to send to EPRA to authorize opening, after which Oimeke demanded for 200,000 Kenyan shillings to facilitate the opening.
I do hereby sentence him, that is for count 2, to a fine of Kenyan shillings 1 million, in default to serve 3 years imprisonment.
Phoebe Wangombe, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Phoebe, for that report. And now to agricultural matters. Hundreds of farmers from different places in Laikipia County were on Tuesday stranded at the Nyahururu NCPB following a shortage of the subsidized fertilizer, despite numerous promises by the government about its availability. The farmers are now calling on the government to ensure the subsidized fertilizers reaches common mwananchi without delays.
Speaking while queuing, waiting for fertilizer, farmers drawn from different parts of Laikipia complained about the manner in which services are offered at the NCPB, some saying they have waited for fertilizer more than a week.
Kisa na maana ni kwa sababu area ambayo ni wakulima ni wengi na mbolea ambayo inayokuja ni ndogo. Kwa mfano, ni kama hapa sasa tuko Nyahururu town ambayo iko karibu katika county mbili. Iko na Nyandarua na Laikipia. Sasa watu ambao ni surrounding hapa ni wengi sana, wakulima ni wengi. Lakini kiasi ya mbolea ambayo inakuja, kwa mfano kama jana nilikuwa hapa, ikawa lori 2, lakini iliisha within some minutes. Na sasa hiyo tunataka kitu cha kwanza, capacity ya kukuja hapa mbolea inatakikana iwe mingi sana.
And as weeks go by, their hopes are dwindling for them to get the commodity.
Nimekuwa nikija hapa kutoka Jumanne na nikajiandikisha. Namba yangu ni 153. Na hadi siku ya leo, ukinisikia utaona niko na homa. Sababu tunakuja asubuhi sana, tuko hapa. Tunapanga raini, tumeandikwa, lakini hadi siku ya leo hatujapata fertilizer. Tunasikia wale wanaenda Nakuru na wamejiandikisha kwa mtandao wanapata fertilizer. Wale wanaenda Naivasha wanapata fertilizer.
The farmers are lamenting that despite the high number of registered farmers from the region, the amount of fertilizer being brought is minimal.
Mambo imekuwa baya juu kutoka Monday message tulitumio ya fertilizer na tukakuja. Kukuja hatukupata. Jumanne hatukupata. Jumatano hatukupata. Na fertilizer bado jana ilikuja maroli 2 na ikatolewa tukiwa hapa. Tukasimama tukaambiwa fertilizer itakuja, tukuje kesho. Sasa kukuja kesho baka wa saa hii hatujapata fertilizer. Ni nini inasuia? Ile nyumba ikiingio watu wanaingia kama ni watu 40 kutoka saa 6 mpaka saa 10. Kunafanywa nini na nikulipa tu? Kuna kitu kinaendelea hapa hii ofisi. Sio jiani hapa Nyahururu.
Tunaomba ni ya kwamba kabisa tuone ya kwamba fertilizer imekuja kwa wingi ndio tuweze kupata kwa haraka, tuweze kupanda. Jambo lingine ni ya kwamba tunajua kabisa na tuna imani na serikali, hasa executive, ya kwamba wako na haja na sisi, lakini pia katika kazi yoyote ambaye ni ya serikali, ningeomba kabisa waweze kuwa wanatuma wawakilishi kutoka ofisi kuu.
The farmers are now calling upon the relevant bodies to take immediate action concerning this matter, as many of them are fearing that the rains experienced might disappear sooner than expected.
And a primary school security guard was found dead on Tuesday morning in Kiambu County after thugs attacked the school, beating him to death. The gang broke into the school, attacked the guard and made away with valuables. Abigail Shearer with this and more at our county roundup.
Insecurity in Lara village continues to be a thorn in their flesh. This is after an attack on Lara Primary School left a security guard injured and valuables stolen. The guard succumbed to a beating he got from the attackers last night.
Tulifunga jana usiku wakati tulimaliza kitu saa 2:30 na tukaenda nyumbani. Halafu kukuja asubuhi tulikuta wamefunja kioo, wametoa nyama kilo 50 wameenda naye, na alikufunja walifunja kifuli wakafungua milango halafu wakabua kioo ndio wakaingia ndani.
The goons also broke into a butchery with the residents concerned about their security in the area. In Vihiga County, a man turned himself in after killing his 21-year-old girlfriend.
Siku ilifika akatoka kwenda kutembea. Kufika kitu kama saa 8 hivi tulikuwa tumekaa tu nyumbani. Tukaona mtoto wangu akakuja na akasema nimepikiwa simu, Dorsila Mwende ametungwa kisu huko Epsiralo.
The deceased had gone to meet the perpetrator when she met her untimely death. Elsewhere, the tourism sector is bound to be affected by the ongoing political clashes. And speaking in Mombasa, the chairperson of the Wildlife Committee and stakeholders are afraid that the investors will pull out investing in the country.
Ile maneno inaendelea sio dhabiti na itusaidii hasa sekta yetu ya utalii. Kwa sababu kama kuna violence inatokea Nairobi, inatokea hapa Mombasa, hata ile maneno yote tunajaribu kufanya hapa itakuwa kazi ya bure. Kwa hivyo mimi naomba viongozi tuache hiyo maneno ya siasa, tulipiga kula na hiyo siasa maneno ikaishia hapo. Tusikane pamoja.
And in Samburu County, Governor Lati Lelelit has given residents seedlings to plant during this rainy season.
Leo tumekupeana mbegu kwa watu wetu kwa sababu tunatarajia mvua, lakini zaidi tumeamua kwa sababu ya insecurity. Watu wetu wengi wamepoteza ng'ombe, wamepoteza mali, wamepoteza hata binadamu, lakini tumesema leo wale families yote, ile households yote walipoteza mali yao, tutawalimia shamba kama county government bila malipo.
The residents are however still calling on the government to solve the insecurity issue, which is still a major concern.
Tumepewa mbegu na gavana Lati Lelelit. Sasa tunaomba usalama irudi pora ili tupate pali ya kupanda mashamba yetu. La sivyo tutabaki hapa, hiyo mbegu yetu tunaosha, tunakula, hatuna chakula. Sasa kama mwezi uimarisha usalama huko, tunabaki tunakula hiyo mahindi yenye imebaki, hiyo yenye umetuletea yenye iko na dawa, tunaosha, tunakula. After hiyo tunakaa kukufa. Serikali watoke hapa, turudi nyumbani, twende tuteseke huko, tulime mashamba yetu, tuwale, tubaki sasa hivyo. Tunaomba mtulete usalama.
Abigail Shira for Lookuptv.
Time now for us to get sporty. Athletics Integrity Unit CEO Brad Clothier is in the country. Clothier will meet various stakeholders, including Sports CS Babu Namwamba, to